Hello everyone, it's Shannon here for Hero Arts. In today's video, we are going to create this vibrant city scene featuring the December 2021 My Monthly Hero kit. I'm going to start my project with the fancy cover plate die included in the kit. This is a gorgeous die that cuts out this intricate and really pretty kind of city scene, or at least apartment scene. I'm going to die cut it out of two A2 panels of pitch black cardstock. This is actually going to be in our foreground, but to simplify things, I'm just going to die cut it black. Now that I've die cut both of them out of the black cardstock, I'm going to do a little modifying here. I want to cut out this little area with the boy or man sitting on the balcony, or standing on the balcony I should say, and that one line of clothes. I'm going to cut that out, trim it out. That will give me room to stamp my sentiment, and I think just kind of make a clearer message with my theme, or with my sentiment. I'm also going to even trim this little bit left over of the balcony here. You could actually just leave that little bit of remaining balcony if that seems too cumbersome to trim that out, but I decided to remove it. I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same thing to my second die cut, remove all those pieces of the scene that I want to remove, and after I've trimmed them out, I'm going to go ahead and layer these on top of each other. I really like this ability to kind of modify die cuts. I think it's a really fun way to approach some of these full panel dies. Sometimes you think, oh, it's there, you have to keep it, but it's kind of fun to think about what you could trim away, especially this die included in the kit. There's a couple kind of things you could focus on and narrow on. Definitely check out some of the samples if you haven't seen the samples that were shared during the countdown and the blog hops for this kit. So now that I've adhered them two together, kind of stacked them up just for a little bit of stability and dimension, I'm going to put that aside. I'm now going to move on to stamping something in my middle ground, I guess. I have a piece of Pebble cardstock here. It's an A2 panel. I actually don't need all of this cardstock, and I'm going to stamp this city bold stamp here onto that panel of cardstock and ink it up in a soft granite. So basically doing a tone on tone look here, just keeping it kind of subtle, because I do want the star to be my ink blended sunset background. I stamped it twice here just to make sure it's nice and bold, and here you can see my completed scene. I love this background stamp because it has a kind of natural edge at the top. I mean, basically the edge of this city scene is actually the tops of the buildings, which allows it to be really useful in card making, and really it's very versatile. I'm actually cutting out the tops of, or cutting along that top of the stamp to create a really clean, seamless cityscape for when I transition to my my ink blended scene. This is just going to make it really smooth and clean. And I am fussy cutting this and taking my time here. There are some parts that I will completely cut off, which I'm getting to it right now. I'm going to completely cut off the clouds. I'm not going to keep those. They kind of don't make sense so much with my scene being gray. It's the same color as all the buildings. And so once I cut those out, there's one last thing, and kind of making it a little easier for myself. There's these like spires poking out of this final building here, and I'm just going to trim those off. So feel free to kind of modify that kind of roof line a little bit to make it easier for yourself. So there's my completed city scene, fussy cut out. You can see here how it lays up, or lays behind that panel, that die cut panel. I want it to be a little bit taller than the girl sitting on the balcony. But so right now the panel's just, that cityscape is just a little too big, so I made a little pencil line and trimmed that off. Now you can see here it's nice and at the right height that I want it to be, because I don't want to cover up that background too much, because again, we want that beautiful ink blended sunset to be a real draw, real focal point. Okay, so now we're ready for that sunset. I have an A2 panel of Dove White an A2 top folding white card base made out of Dove White cardstock, and I'm going to ink blend on this front with 3 reactive inks. I'm starting with Creamsicle here. This is actually my light. I'm going to ink blend that really quickly with my blending brush. Once I finish that, I'll move on to my next shade, which is Taffy. Again, using my blending brushes here. This is my middle color. I'm going to have this pretty intense. All these colors I'm going to do, again, really intense, because I want this to be a really bold sunset. Once I finish with the Taffy, I'm going to move on to my final color, which is Blue Hawaii. Kind of create a little bit of a look of it. The sunset's practically or on its last leg here, like the night sky is starting to come in, because I do even want to add a little bit of stars to this scene. So once I finish with that blue Hawaii, I'm going to go back through my colors, back with Taffy, and finish up with a little bit more Creamsicle just to kind of smooth out that gradation and intensify some of those other colors. So here's my blended sunset. Now moving on to those stars, like I mentioned before, I have Gansai Tambi watercolor here. This is white watercolor. I mixed it up with some water. I'm going to place down a little scrap piece of cardstock to kind of protect the lower half or the lower portion of my sunset, because I don't want to get stars there. They're not going to be as noticeable, and it's going to impact my ability to stamp a sentiment there. So I'm trying to keep that area clear. And then I removed it here just to add a couple of stars down in that other area. I just want to keep the most of them, the focus of them, up at the very top in that blue Hawaii section. So now that that is all dry, all that watercolor splatters are dry, I'm ready to adhere that cityscape right to my card front. Once that's stuck down, I'm going to nestle this card front into the corner, place my die cut panel on top just to make sure I get everything, so I get my sentiment in the right spot. And then I'll grab that sentiment from the included stamp set, position it, pick it up with my Misty, and then I will stamp it in Intens-ified black ink. And I will stamp it a couple times here just to make sure it's nice and bold and dark. So here I am inking it up one more time and stamping it so we have that beautiful bold sentiment. Now that that's stamped, all I have left to do is adhere my die cut to the front, so I'm going to add some more liquid adhesive to the back side of the die cut. Once I have those stacked die cuts completely covered with adhesive on the back side, I'm going to grab my scrap cardstock here, place it glue side down onto the cardstock. That will remove some of that excess glue, which sometimes happens with liquid glue, and then stick it down onto my card front. And just by removing that excess adhesive, I don't get any like glue squirting out anywhere. And here's the finished card. I'll hold it to the camera so you can get a good look. I love all these products working together in the kit. That beautiful die cut really kind of sets the stage. Then you have that subtle background with the city and that bold ink blended sunset. I think it just all works together to create that little narrative of longing and missing somebody who's far away. I hope you guys enjoyed today's card and video. If any questions about the products I use, please check out the links below in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.